Yo, boom, 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 boom. Do 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 do. Oh, it is time to do some modeling on just getting the recorded value on it, so people can watch it at their leisure rather than worrying about actually doing live streaming and whatnot. When we get more consistent, hello everyone. Decided to go ahead and continue more impromptu streaming. I think it's more important. We will work on getting back to our mainstream 2 days a week like we were in the past. But for now, I'm afraid it's going to be more impromptu, and you'll just have to follow along on Facebook to get the notification, or just follow along on this, and you should be able to keep up with the Joneses and figure out when these things are put up on the channel. When we last left off, we were doing something tedious, and unfortunately I have not gone around to doing any more of the tedious work on it, so we're going to just go ahead and work on that today. So if you kind of roll your eyes at that thought of adding more of these coins to the tower, so be it. I understand you may want to just skip this episode and work on the next one. But I've got some more concept work that I want to bring in, and don't have it on me right now, but we'll, well, actually, stand by and see if I can actually get it in here. We can make a little plane. So we have this panel right here, and I'm going to make a material. And that material is going to be just a typical material, V-Ray. You can make just a general one if you want. Come on. It's a little slow to get started. While we're waiting for that, let's see. Let's try that again. We're going to go to the diffuse and try to add a bitmap. And what we're going to do is, let's see, this, get the clutter out of the way so you don't have to deal with that crap. There's always clutter in the download folder. You all know that. Let's see, here we go. Is this the one? It's one of them. Let's go ahead and apply that and turn it on so that we actually can see it. Oh, it looks hideous in case you can't see what's going on. Double click your bitmap, turn on use real world scale. That way it'll just fit onto that. And then you need to tell it how big it is. And this UVW map, which is found in the modifier tab, all the way down to the bottom, way down there, you just apply that to it. And again, uncheck the real world map size, and voila, it's the wrong one. I thought it was the right one, but that's the one we worked on a while back, and we're working on that again later on. We forgot about that one, and that was the one about the tree that kind of looked like a certain video game. Let's try that again, and we're going to do this one. That's the one I was wanting. There we go. And we need to rotate this thing 90 degrees. So we grab the gizmo, make sure our align snap toggle for the angle of rotation is on. Just turn it 90 degrees. And then to make it fit, there's this fit button right here on the right, and it just drops right into it. Let's talk about this for a second, shall we? All right. First of all, I came in with a couple of ideas of different styles for the treasure chest. Something with the two metal iron straps in the middle, one of them on the ends, and then one more squared off, like a rectangular sort of shape. Some side shots, kind of the open angled area, smiley face, maybe a kind of an oval. You see the actual geometric shapes of that, kind of an idea of where the pieces go down. Some ideas to remind me that I need to put the teeth. But then I started drawing the actual dimensions here. And that's when I came up with this crazy contraption, which I don't know if you can actually see. Let's see if we can actually get right click on your perspective up here where my thing is and go down to, well, how about not that one? How about the plus sign? There we go, the plus sign next to the perspective, way up here. And you go down and configure viewports, configuration. And you can actually crank this thing up. It's bake procedural maps, texture maps. The texture maps is what you're looking for. See how pixelated it is? You want to make sure that you can actually see it pretty clearly. And really, you know, when you're just modeling, you don't really need to see the details of the textures. And just kind of going with that. But in this case, I want to put up to like 496 and apply. And see if it actually does. Oh, is it all of them? 496. It's been a while. Or does it not want to even work on this? Work for me! You know, it's been a while since I've used this. Maybe it doesn't work quite as well as it did. Let's see. Normal, high quality. Well, in the past, it used to work pretty well. Maybe we crank it down to like 124, and then 124. 124, does that actually? Yeah, it sure doesn't. Used to be where you could actually go in here and look at the textures, and you would get a lot sharper than that. But unfortunately, currently, it does not look like that is the case. It looks like it's not going to show much detail, but so this is the treasure chest that I'm thinking of that will have the mouth opened up right here. You can see the big opening that will go down into the gullet. But I'm thinking there may be 2, if not 3 tongues now. One of them will come in from the side, and that'll be the initial feeder that you can actually put the die and it'll roll right into the mouth and come out this big hole where the shield is currently blocking it. The other option I'm thinking is that the tongue comes out and you set it here, and instead of going into the gullet, it actually rolls down and through a hole in the coins around the back, and then wraps around and dumps it off in the front. We're going to see if we can't get that taken care of and put that in here somewhere, you know, around there where it swings around and dumps it off back there. Don't know if it'll work, but it's something that I'd like to give it a shot. But for now, we're going to continue with the boring stuff. Now, we've got as high as we want to with the actual tray. I believe that that's far enough for height. We don't need it to be any higher. And now we just basically need to ascend this whole area up high enough, you know, up to the top here. And basically it, you know, this is, like I said, this is a lot of tedious work. I apologize, but this is part of, sometimes part of the work. I don't want to instance any of these, because we're going to be fusing these together at the end. So we want to keep them separated for now. And we want to make sure that, go to our line tool, make just the Z. We did this last time where we had a minimum and maximum. Minimum on the bottom side of the object we're wanting to move. Maximum meaning the top part of the target area that we're wanting to align it on, so that it's sitting on the top there. And one thing we're keeping a very close full mind of is just making sure that we are following along this kind of slanted cone shape so that it doesn't go in too far, because our walls just want to be so many inches thick, and not beyond that. So go on from here and just start working on that. Overlapping is fine. We also learned that the hard way the other day. And because we don't really want any gaps, because it'll keep the structure a little bit better. And see how this is a little bit too far out, and how much I had to move it in just to. When it gets that light pink, that means it's breaching the cone. All right, so away we go. We're just kind of moving them around. Doesn't really matter, just as long as it visually looks like there's enough coins here to, and that we're not too far away. Always, oh, we need to freeze that selection. I froze the cone so I don't have to accidentally select it often. And I just want to make sure these coins are relatively close, but they don't have to be the same distance. Just, you know, still tier them a little bit so they look like they're naturally there, but don't make them the same. You know, make them farther out one time and not so far out the next time, so that it looks like they've been purposely, you know, stacked, but not with a purpose. And stuff like this. It's always good times. Great oldies. Yeah, so you got a little too far there. Gotta bring them back. And the thing that keeps popping up is just the cloning option, and then I hit spacebar. So basically, whenever you go in, you hit the spacebar, it shuts it down. And that's quite a bit of an overhang right there. So we may not want to actually go that far. May just want to do that. That'll work. No problem there. So we'll see. We'll see if this works. I think we'll go back now. Set it right there on the top again. And we offset it a little bit so that's overlapping right there. And here we go again. Isn't this fun, kids? Oops. Lost it. Got to get in the rhythm again. Some serious overhang right there, but... And that's going to cause some... That may cause a lot of support that we don't want to get cleaned up. If it's tedious support, if it's little bitty pieces where the support is just tiny, it becomes a problem, because then it's just a lot of little tedious cleanups. We don't want that. So I want to always try to be wary when we're doing these. Yeah, I kind of like that. There's a little bit of a overhang. And again, just like last time that I was saying, you could theoretically grab a whole bunch of these and just lift them up to the next line, and that may work. We'll give it a shot here real quick, but this is just to show whether you see how it's kind of tiering. So if we go, oops, we definitely don't want the sword. We just want the coins. So if we go up there and make a copy, and then tell it to be on the top there, well, now you've got exactly perfect area. I mean, the coins are exactly where they were to below, so they're not offset. So you got to move them off to one side, but then you've got a ton of space right there. And then you've got a ton of overlapping right there. So you can go in there, and I guess you can try to rotate it. Hold a T, and then this time, this is the rare time where I actually turn off my snapping or orientation, and try to get it in the ballpark. Be sure to turn it right back on. And then I'm going to see how this all looks. Yeah, that doesn't quite match to me. Seems like it's still might be too far out, but that did save me a little bit of a time. So it does work to a certain extent, but not entirely, because you're still going to have to push things back and make sure they're tiered, because that's the whole point. See how that's nice and sloped right there? That's what we're looking for. All right. So, despite what everybody wants, they're not going to get it. Ha! I refuse. And here we go. Bo 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 bo. Bo 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 bo. Bo 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 bo. Great thing about circles is that they don't have any facial orientation, so you don't have to worry about rotating them as you go around this whole thing. If they're all facing one direction, you'd have the fun time of not only moving these but also rotating them each time. Oh, I see. Now, one of the things that we haven't been doing, that we should, is having a line of coins in this general area that need to be going up that same aisle. So what we're going to do is basically go in here and select all of these like that, and then I'm going to shift rotate about 180 degrees, make copies, and then move them like that so that they're already up, which is cool. But now I want to take, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one from here and one from here and isolate so that I have just these two pieces that are this one here, that one there. That shows me where my cutoff point, where there's going to be coins here. Go in my top view. This is my first coin. This is my second coin. So everything basically between there and these two places need to vamoosh like that. So that when we go to unhide, there's not many coins that are going to be overlapping. There is some right here that need, I cut it actually too much. I shouldn't have done that. So what I'll do is end isolate, and now I can actually see for myself what I should have done to begin with. And then actually I want to do it this way because I want to delete these and I want to delete those. And then because if I delete them, there's a little bit of a gap there. So I want to get all but these. something like that. And yeah, there's going to be a little bit of overlapping, but you won't notice it because it's all a bunch of coins. And we can fix this area right here. I'm moving some coins over here. Nothing to it. We'll get that in a second. But now we got even more of a pile coming up. It just looks more and more like coins. We're going to save as to Mimic Dice Tower, and we're just going to hit this plus button so it makes it an O2 right there. And you'll see right up there it says O2. I do that because I do not like overwriting files, nor do I believe in it. There's no reason for you to override files unless you absolutely feel that's necessary, because there's always a chance you might want to go back and work on something else. Yeah, there's a ton of pieces here we really don't need, but we're not going to go in there and clean them up because there's just no need for it. We can live without it. Alright, we're making our way up. Now, another thing you could do is, we could try, is by going here, getting rid of those. Let's take these top pieces here. Let's try something else. Just experimenting. And this time we're going to try to scale it. Well, first of all, we want to rotate, but just so they're offline of the one below them. We're going to try to scale them so that they stay the same thickness, but they come inside. Let's see what happens. See how they stay the same? They technically are staying the same thickness. They just look like they're fatter because, well, let's make sure that's the case, because I don't know about that. Yeah, that actually stays the same. So you can actually come in here and if I can get my silly scaling working. And then we align it down to the top of that. And now we just got one that's inside the cone. Although that's starting to really be inside there, but I think it'll be alright. But that just saved us some time of having to do that. So it may actually, well, there's a heck of a hangover right there. I have to fix that real quick because that's going to be a big, big problem. So how do we do that? We just bring stuff out so they can see the world. Something like this. That's good enough. Alright, so that worked. So we can actually try it again, see if we can't keep doing that. Let's see if we can take 3 of them. Let's see what happens there, just to kind of get an idea of what's going on here. And then we're going to try to rotate, oops, perspective, rotate just a tad bit so that it's offline, off center rather. Then we're going to go in here real close to the anchor point here, and we're doing the XY, and we're looking down at our lower, looking for about 98. It's still not enough. That's way too much. Still not enough. It's 109, that's too much. So it's like 105 is what I'm looking for. 105. Group this real quick, just so we can use the alignment tool, and then we can ungroup it. It may be a little bit too much. Yeah, that's a little bit too much. I thought we was just right on the money, but I guess it isn't. So we just move back to that. And we deselect that one. And we bring these. Oh. Yeah, this is not quite as, doesn't quite work as well. I mean, that looks more like it. But this one needs to come out a little bit more too. Not that much though. If we could just get it between the two, it's 1. Can get it even tighter. Looking for like a 1. I'm jumping from 99 to 107. That's just not going to be acceptable. Let's see. Can I do it this way? 106. Nope. Hit Alt W to go to that view that I've just in, and you can right click the viewport you want, and then you can see the other viewports and see what you're doing. Hit Alt W and get you right back to it. We're starting to lose that distance there. We're still following it along, but we're coming in a little sharper than I like. But that definitely saves some time. No question about that. But you can definitely see that it doesn't quite line up to how I'm hoping for it to look. It's moving up quicker, but we'll have to work on that here in a little bit. It's definitely faster than going one at a time, of course. Rotate it. And bring that just a tad bit. So I'm going to have it a little bit closer to having it towards that edge there. Like that. And then we'll go up again. And rotate it. And bring it down a little bit. And again, we don't want it to go too far. And that actually looks pretty good. We're getting close back to our Some of this over here is just going to be too far away, but that's the front of the piece, and that's fine. It's the rest of it, the general proximity of it wanting to be different is what's important. And I could definitely tell it's following the cone more or less. So we're fine. I'm just using a line tool, the rotate tool just a tad bit, and then the scale tool inward, and we're just going to like 97, 98. So only a 3, that's too much. Only actually a 2. I'm trying to go for 98, and I'm looking down here. It's your X, Y, and Z coordinates right here. When you're trying to do scaling, your percentages will come up. It'll be a percentage of the size that you're wanting to shrink it down. So it's not very mathematical because you could do mathematics for it and figure out what 3% size decrease of the diameter of this circle is. But I rather not do that kind of math. I'm just eyeballing it here and using this as my general guideline. And as long as it's filling up there, it's doing all right. Let's go up again. Align tool. It should always stay the same. If you don't change it, the align tool should stay the same from the previous time. And sometimes you don't have to even go up, or you don't have to scale it down. You can just let it be until it gets a little bit too small. Yeah, just like there's a little tier section there. Move along much faster now. Yeah, it's a little overlapping. That's fine. We'll just leave it at that for now. The next one, we'll bring it in. Oops. I'm going to do perspective because I've got it set up to be the Z. And then sort of shrink that down by like 1%. Yeah, it's still generally following that contour, and we're slowly making our way up. I feel sorry for this computer and Macs when I try to get these, but when I try to boolean these together, it's going to be kind of a disaster. I'll be surprised if I get them all, but we're going to give it a shot. Like I said, I've got a few more tricks up my sleeve that I can figure out if we need to get this looking like a pile of treasure. And moving right on up the chain, up the ladder. And maybe something we can do, because we're starting to deviate away from that a little bit too far. So what if we go in here and grab these here and come out a little bit. And it's a bit of an overhang, but I think it'll be okay, the general purpose. Because now we got it back closer to that. And even that needs to be allowed a little bit more, just a hair. Yeah, like that. We can try 2 at a time. The problem is you got to group it every single time you align, because it'll align both the pieces. Otherwise, it'll take both pieces independently and align them to that piece. In other words, the two would overlap each other because they think independently that you want to align both the layers to the top of this one down here. If you group them, then it's just going to go, it thinks that's the bottom, that's the top. But if you don't, it thinks this is the top, that's the bottom, and that's the bottom of that row. So have to keep an eye on this. Let's get back to doing one at a time. Ungroup it. Don't forget to always ungroup things. That's going to be a problem later on if you don't. To ungroup everything if you don't. Before you boolean, you have to ungroup. Pieces can't be booleaned within their own group. It's more uniform too, and that's one of the concerns I have, is that it's starting to get a little bit too uniformed. And maybe that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I don't like complete unity in certain things like this. So some of these pieces need to come out wherever you are. I'm just looking to break it up just a tad bit so that hopefully it doesn't quite look the same. Maybe good to take one of the lower ones. See how everything's like in uniform? You can see the difference. You see the definite difference here. So let's bring this up instead. See the huge difference in the size and scale. And this one we'll need to hit Alt-W and watch the sideline as we bring this thing in. Think about right there. Oops. This is the one we want. You get rid of some of these pieces that are overlapping. Don't need them. And then move a couple that are not quite happy. There you go. Go back to raising them again just to see. Might be able to get away with a few more of these. Might be an idea that we turn off our angle so that It's not quite exactly centered. This is how we do it. This is how we do it. This is how we do it, baby. It's Friday night. Feel alright. Party's here on the west side. Bo, 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 bo. So we were just about there. Just about there. I overrode it, whatever. Yeah, this bad boy is going to be going into it. Like that. And he'll have some. You don't rotate it enough. There. You want to make sure that he doesn't have much overhang because he's going to be giving all kinds of gas. Pull it in. Can I switch to local? What's he going to do? Is he going to work together? Yeah, it's kind of. Yeah, it's going to be a tough pull. So I want to show plenty of the blade, but at the same time, I don't want it to be. I want that hilt to be connected with those coins, so that's all one piece. I know it'll look unnatural with it just piercing the coins, but that's just going to be how it is. We'll make these like bulges or something like that. That may actually be a good idea. So we're gonna grab all these. Let's see. I want like half of this. Gone. Gone. And then bring them all out. Yeah. Bring out some more. So it's like a little kind of bulgy sort of thing. Take away that crap. Or better yet, just move it back behind it. There we go. So now it's attached. There. Kind of looks like it's sort of pushing out without pushing out. It works. Alright. It's looking neato. Oh, maybe I'm local. I'll just leave it that. I want to welcome everybody watching the video. Appreciate you tuning in, skipping around. You don't necessarily have to watch the entire thing verbatim. It's nice to be able to jump around sometimes. Oops. I cannot stand orthographic view. It's ugly, and it's very distracting. Yeah, this is looking good. Let's get one of these random ones down the bottom here. Like that one. That one's a good one. That's a good looking one. Look how much whiter it is now. Get a little too far inside, so let's bring it back out. Like that. We're almost to the top. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I won't know what to do. Oops. Get rid of some of these coins. Oops, not that one. Excellent. Bow, 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 bow. Oh, this is gonna be sweet. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom. Yeah. I can't believe it. We're almost at the top. We're almost at the top. What are you don't talk about now? Don't forget your peas and your poops. That's gonna feel real good for Uncle Jesse. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right now I'm just finishing off the volcano without scaling. I'm just leaving him as is because there's really no point in this stage. It's all going to be flattened. There we go. Alright. Now, at this point, we can rejoice in the fact that you've actually made it all the way through here, and we got it all the way to the top. I didn't think we were going to make it, but we did. And here we are today, looking at this thing. Now, what do we do with this cone thing? Well, this cone thing is going to be kind of an enforcement, and essentially, we really actually don't need any of the pieces that are jutting out. We just need the inner piece. And what we're going to do here is shrink this down so that it's going to be on the inside of that. You see how it's the inside now? And hopefully we'll be able to use this as our tool when we get a little closer to the ending. Did I have more than one? Okay, that is all I need. All right. So basically I can go in here and get it just below the lip so that it doesn't crest anything. It doesn't crest the top of the coins, and it just keeps it. That'll be just kind of a base that I can fuse some of the things on top. It's nice and level so that it'll be easy to put the chest on. I can also kind of drapes cloth over this. That's one of the other things I was thinking of is sort of covering up some of the, I guess you'd say, imperfections while I stretch there of the coins. That's kind of an interesting deal where you basically make a plane and around it, and then you simulate the cloth to drape over it. And when it falls, it's laying on top of the coins here. That may be something that could break up some of the that we did a whole bunch of these coins. See how those are all consistent way too. It's nicer to have this imperfection up above, but we'll deal with those with time. But yeah, this looks like it's going to be good. It's going to work. Next, what we're going to be doing is, I guess we'll work on the chest then, because I guess we put this little, we can make a little plane real quick. Not sure why everything is insisting to be purple or pink. And we're going to adjust this so that I'm just checking vertices and moving them around a little bit so that they're inside here real quick. And all we're going to do is grab the edges and hit your connect button, which is right here. Makes a little connection between the two, and then you can bring it on out. That way you can have over here maybe, and then we'll do it one more time because I don't want them over there. I want them to kind of follow the contour more or less, very roughly of course. I don't have to worry about it being precise because the coins are going to be there, but you can see that it's kind of rough there. I mean, we don't need it to be there. We just need it to be covering inside the coins themselves, like that. And that way we have a base, and we can make that actually much higher by applying what's called a shell. And you basically just click on shell, and all that does, it takes a plane and makes a box out of it. And if you go inside it, actually, you can see that it's hollow in there. You can see, ooh. But yeah, it just basically takes a plane and makes a box. And that way you have some thickness, and you can adjust that shell. See, we're still not completely underneath right there. So what we can do is, what we should do is just make some more coins, because, you know, we've only made 50 million of them already. Why not make a few more? And since this is the base, I want it to be as flat as we can. So I'm moving in pieces. Oops, don't want that axis. I want this one. And things like that, it's okay. It's gonna have tons of them anyway, so it should be acceptable to have a few gaps, because everything's gonna be melted together, fused, as long as the purple is pretty much getting most of the coins. Yeah, overlap a few. There, that's good enough. And again, you won't even notice that, because we'll work on that and later. All right, so I guess what we do now is save it, and then we're going to save as. So it's a 03, and this time we're going to start making the treasure chest itself. And I want to unhide my name. And we're looking for plane because we didn't actually name it. It was a plane that we made for the background to show that little picture. And there it is. You can also name that if you want to, but it's not that many objects in the scene, so you don't have to worry about that. So the decision is made that if we're going to go through one of these, I personally like the one on the right, the more traditional one, where the iron binds. Excuse me while I stretch. Sorry. You need to do that every once in a while. I like the iron binds on the ends. I like it to be more traditional in that look, rather than the squared off chest in the middle, or the one with the piece in the middle, like on the left. So we're going to make the traditional one. So all that is, it's just a half barrel. It's just a half barrel cylinder on the top, squared off on the bottom, and then put some iron bandings on that. But I don't like this O shape like this. I do like the asymmetrical look. So we're going to try to work with that and get that to work. We might have to like just form the thing once we build it. Use like a deformation, deformity, deformity. But for now, let's get this thing working. One of the things I want to do is make this chest being a part of it, but not so big. Let's see. In other words, for scale purposes, that's my top of the circle, so that's going to overlap a bit. Maybe that's real high. Go something like that, and it'll be towards the back. There is going to be some overhang on there. I'm not concerned about the height right now. I'm just worrying about how this thing's going to fit. For those of you who are really upset about the height, we'll do that. We'll bring out our dice. That's not what I wanted to select. Unhide by. That's definitely not what I want to select. I don't want all of them. I want to hide by name, and I want my geosphere out. This is going to be the size of the dice, so we need to make sure that we have plenty of room for it to fall into. So it's going to need to be, my guess, I hate to say it, but the hole is going to need to be at least 2 dice tall for it to safely go into. Now, of course, this thing's going to be much bigger when we open it up, but again, if you unhide all, that's box 1. I want to unhide box 1. This is our size. We got to keep it under this size, and right now we've got it looking good. We just got to make sure that we don't go too crazy. We can increase the coins and all this to compensate for that if we need to. That's the nice thing, is we do have a little bit of room to give and take, but not that much. Okay. All right. Next, let's move these to one side so we can have a reference. And we'll make the bottom part first. I'm just giving some thought here. Well, those are the 2 segments that we just made right here and right here for the ends. Well, actually, we don't even need that. We can, we just need those for the ends. If we're putting the bands on that, if we're just putting the bands on either side, that'll be only need we need. Side, I think that's going to come up and around. It may actually go along the bottom. It may just be a whole banding right here. So we can put an insert later to add a segment there. But I think I want to mutate this thing so this overlap is pressed against here, kind of a curve. So we can reduce as much of the overhang. Same for that, kind of a claw type of thing. And that may look pretty cool. Alright, so if that's the case, we need to add, we're just going to add them on the fly. See, I want to be able to bring this down and around. So we need to have basically a line that gives them that whole segment right there. So let's go ahead and connect that, bring that in. Let's bring the banding out to where we want it to be. Let's exaggerate the iron banding a little bit so that we're still going to make it kind of cartoony. We'll make it totally realistic. Alright, and then that piece comes down, and we'll just extrude it the rest of the way. So this piece basically right here comes down, and then comes in. And we'll go push this in a little bit. Making kind of a sort of leg to it. And we extrude this one more time. And this is going to be, let's have kind of a, I want this to have sort of a fingers to it. There's like one. There's another one. And that way we can do the extruding bevel. But this time, the one very few time we do polygon. Select by polygon and it spreads out like that. We bring them in like toes. But now we can go ahead and use our scale tool. We don't want to do that, I guess. So I want them to come out in different segments. First of all, I don't want them to be rectangle. I want them to be squared off. And this goes out one way. Let's get back to our gold. Yeah, we're going to have to totally bring these out just a tad bit. I'll make it so it looks like it's actually clawing into it. Like that. It's actually looking like it's a part of the piece, but it's it's wanting to come out. You can barely see with all the blasted coins. Something like that. There. Yeah, that's the start of it. It's kind of a unorthodox type of arm, but it gets the point across. This one comes in a little bit more. And now it kind of supports that overhang so it doesn't kill us quite as much when we bring it in to print. Get rid of all that overhang, the potential. Just shoving it right in to the coins. Maybe not that far because I don't want it to actually go into the coins. There. Yeah, good enough. Okay. And so that's the front. I'm going to do the side here. Connect it. And bring it on up. And then we're going to bring it down. And actually see what the crap I'm doing here. There we go. Go down one more. Oops. Oops. It's getting all jittery on me. And then go to isolate. This is where we choppity chop chop this up. Connect. Connect. And then we take the, let's see, it'll be these pieces here. And you bevel those things out and you got yourself what you're looking for. Again, all we're doing is just trying to make it look somewhat like claws, but without it being obvious. And making oh, come on. It's really weird why it's doing that. Make this a little bit longer than usual. And bring it back into the coins. Although it's difficult to see where these are, you just bring these things out. And again, just bring that on down. It doesn't matter if there's overhang underneath here because that'll just help support it and you won't be able to see that. It won't be that big of a deal at all. So I think that's good right there. From a distance it looks like a little something that's gripped onto it. We can worry about the details later. But right now we're just getting a general idea of the size and shape. What is this thing's going to look like? This side doesn't really have much of an arm since it's already placed up on there, but this overhang does need to have the same thing. So into the mist we go again. One more time. Into the mist. Into the flame, I think is the quote from Independence Day. And we're just going to make it one leg there. That's fine. Reduce the overhang a little bit. Make it come up towards the top right there. And do the same thing. Do the same thing right this guy. With him coming in. Okay. So now it looks like the bottom of something that doesn't quite look natural. And these guys need to come down for me, and I want them to be more dynamic. Let's bring these out. That's good. They can run into the sword and give it a little bit more support there. It's fine. I want to make sure that for now this is all flattened, and we will grab just this part, and we're going to extrude it up by means of beveling and turn this back to local normals so it goes up together. And we'll adjust that sword. It's going too far into it now, but that's alright. We'll worry about that in a second. And then bring it down a little bit. And that's essentially like the base of the chest. It's little metal strips and whatnot, and you can extrude things to your heart content. Matter of fact, you can even just bring, nope, we're going to have to extrude bevel. Yeah, something like that. But we'll do that later, because we have to do it all together. Alright, now the inner piece. That comes in a little bit. And then we go up. And then that is as far, we don't want the mouth, the bottom part to come out very far, because the top part is going to be much bigger. So that may be as far as we want to go there. Now we're going to make the little kind of edge here. Without going too far. Something like that. And so we're just going to bring it in as far as we can to give it a bit of a lip. We may actually want to resolve some of these pieces here by means of making a polygon. Just create one and then have it so that it's just here on this top. So that we have just one piece coming out, even though it's going to have numerous pieces across it. I think we can get away with it just being one, like that. And the reason is because it's going to be raised up here, so the mouth of it, it's kind of the mouth right now, but we can actually, because of this now that we did, we can actually shrink it down even further to give it more of a lip, because we're going to be needing to have some kind of a structure for the tongue to fit onto. So we want it to be like that. Now, this is the lower piece. The upper piece is going to be totally separate. But we also want to make sure that the back side has enough room to have the hinge, the holes embedded into this section right here. And that way the upper lip can just fit right in with two male pieces that fit into female ends, and it just sits right in there. You don't have to do anything fancy, and really you don't even have to worry about, you know, going that too far out. So we're still looking pretty good right now. All right, so now we just want to go down, and this is where we probably actually will just go down for a little bit vertically. Group, go down vertically, and I mean, we'll go that far just to kind of give it as much chest as we can, but we're going to delete that because this whole thing is going to, well, I guess we can keep it for now, but we're going to have to cut a hole into this thing that allows the dice to go down, and we don't want the whole thing opened up because that's an awkward place. We want it to basically funnel. We'll make this kind of a funnel thing. So I guess what we could do is bevel this area. Oops. Or do we just make it insert? Let's make an insert. And again, these pieces are starting to interfere with all. Yeah, that's not going to work because if you've got all these extra lines down here. Yeah, we may have to go back and just cut those lines right back to where they were so that we can cut a big hole in here. Otherwise, we're going to have a lot of problems with it. So let's see if we can actually. I think I learned something the other day. Yeah, can actually go in here and connect these. Oop. I guess not. Do it on certain things, but you can't do it on everything. Connect. And then I could have sworn we did a connect here. Maybe not. Well, we do a cut. That's not that big a deal. Always have to do it the difficult way. I know there's an easier way of doing that, but for now, we're just doing it this way. And then we cut one more time to the middle, and to, oops, did not do that one. I already know that I did. There we go. Let's go back to that. Want that. I think that's it. Let's find out. Yeah, that's it. And then remove these back down. And now that we've got this piece here, we can theoretically actually delete this. And this is kind of a deal that we're going to have to, well, have to delete that as well, but have to delete the whole thing. And then we're going to have to make ourselves a tube. I think we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves here, but just want to check on some things just to make sure. But yeah, the hand isolation here, and that has to go in there. That may be an issue where it could get stuck, but we're hoping that it can fall in there. That's going to be kind of tight. We'll have to see. we may have to increase this whole thing once we get it cut to fit the scale of it. But for now, we're going to make like a cone, and we just go here to the top view and just make a cone. Doesn't matter the size for now. Just make it. Make it. And then mirror it on the Y so that you can flip it upside down because you want it to be a funnel. And we're just going to select both those, the chest and the funnel. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here. We're going to somehow go in here and we're going to use the scale tool and place this sort of right there, just underneath. Probably put it right, I guess, there. And then the other one, the height of it will probably be starting right here, and then it'll turn, and then we'll have a whole new area. This starts it off, and the way we do that is we go in here and select this, select that, and then go back to your shell modifier. Under your modifier panels, you just hit shell, and you may want to add the sides to it later, but we can do that. We can worry about that later. But this basically gives you the idea. So now that there's this tube here, or this funnel rather, and then we can we'll make this so that everything falls into there. We'll seal all this off. Doesn't have to be pretty in there, it just has to be functional. No one's going to be bothering to look in there except, I don't know, little kids. So that's basically it right there. And we know that this is going to be gone at some point, but the bottom isn't. So we can actually see if we can't put the shell modifier on this cone. We'll actually be getting rid of, quite a few of this area here, because again the dice is going to pull out. We'll see, the dice is going to pull out here. So they'll be down here, coming out. So somehow they're gonna, boy, that's gonna be a tight turn. And we're gonna have to worry about the schematics other than that just getting totally stuck down there. But what we can do is we can just go into here, assuming we have our cone the way we want it to be, which we don't right now, but if we did. Do I have ignore back faces on or something? Why is it not wanting to pick? Boy, it's not. That's weird. I don't have ignore back facing. It's not selecting these at all. Well, it is, and it's not acting like it. Oh, that's weird. Do I have two items or something? What is this? Yeah, it's not wanting to select. Oh, that's really odd. Oh, that's why. I had the shell modifier on, and then I had went down below it to do edit poly, and it registered as an edit. It did not register the shell had been applied. If you go below the shell, it thinks that the shell hasn't been added yet, so it's going to treat the model as if there's no shell, as if it's paper thin before we added the thickness to it. You can add another edit poly on top, and then that'll get you going. But yeah, we'll go in here and turn on soft select, and then just increase the hole so that it's wide to begin with, but we just maybe just make it bigger like that. it'll roll down that way. Again, that's all testing. One of the things I was going to do, though, is I wanted to fix this area here a little bit. Let's see, what was the move? Is it Shift X? Yeah. I also learned that I can use Shift X to control the line. Something that I've been wanting to do for quite some time is find a shortcut to do this. Instead of using the constraints up here, I no longer have to do that. I can just hold down. And to do that, you hold down Shift X. That's all it is, Shift X. And then I'll keep them constrained like this. It won't go. It'll keep it constrained along that edge. Very nice shortcut. All right. And then I want to actually finish by making this solid here. Yeah, and then everything can just fall out. All right, I'm going to have to put the coins hiding for now because I don't think we really need to worry about the coins so much. So I'm going to go in here to my Scene Explorer, and I'm going to select all of the coins. What are these that are hidden? I don't know. But there are literally thousands of coins. 2,799 to be exact. I'm going to go ahead and group these things for now, just as an easy way of finding them, hide them, and select. So now we've got basically just, it runs a lot smoother now. It's getting a little bit jerky on my computer. So that was that part. Next is the, we've got the base part here down. You can see the legs kind of offsetting them. And again, we'll do the deformation in later on. But the next step would be we can try to make the tongue. See if that works. At least one of them. Let's see. We'll just start off with a simple box. But the box has to be bigger. Yeah, that's what I was worried about. It's going to have to be bigger than the dice because it's going to be where it's rolling down on it. Yeah, that's going to be a tough thing to have two tongues. One here and then one over here. That's going to be difficult. Not to mention difficult to get this thing to fit all the way through. But I had these set up thinking that it might go even farther. So we may actually bring the tongues. We may actually bring this thing out more. I think that's what I was trying to figure out, how far out we wanted to bring those guys. And we may have to bring them out all the way to that point. And that gives you a lot more room up there and more room for the tongues. Because the tongues are going to have to fit on that little lip right there. They actually will sit on top of it. And if I make two of them, I've got to make sure that they are big enough that this die and this die are wide enough to roll down. So, case in point, bring it over here, and bring it over there, and then double check my width here. Yeah, that's good. Okay, get him out of there. I don't need that. We're just going to use the same tongue and just adjust it. Alright, so for now, we'll not worry about the second one, we'll just worry about the first one. And this one is going to be the one that dumps it in there. So on the back side, we're going to come in here, and it's going to fit right over this lip, but I want it to have enough so it's not skinny. And this one is going to fit right here, up above that little piece there. Okay. And now, so that'll be kind of the whole piece there. So we'll make a little bracket now. So we're going to need a line that goes up here, over, and down to fit on this whole thing here. And it doesn't need to be all that complicated. It just needs to be functional. So you can make one right there, and then go back in here and make another cut and put it right there. Something like that. That's good enough. Alright. And now we just go across the middle and bring that up to the top so that it's sitting, and give yourself a little bit of room like that. And theoretically that should sit on there. Now what we do is go in here and remove this little chunk that's going to be this little cutout section. See what I'm doing here? It's going to be a little section where it just sits right on there. And we can make it so it conforms a little bit better to that. That's fine. That's not a big deal. So to do that, we just need another connection and bring it up to about right there-ish. And then both of these sides here come in about right there. And then we do another one. We just need to connect again right in the middle. And that allows us, if we take both sides here, we're bringing it in. And then you can actually bring this whole new clip down so that it kind of conforms to that area. Again, it doesn't have to actually sit there pretty. We can get that tight as a drum later on. Right now, we're just getting the idea of it. It's like this. We want to get these to be closer, but it doesn't have to be just right on the money. And this guy can go in here and come down a little bit, kind of fit that in. This guy goes in here and up against that wall. This guy's too far away. We can bring him in, but again, not so far that we run him into a wall or anything like that. Yeah, like that, just bring it in. Alright. So that's going to be the actual bracket for it to sit on. Now, the question is, and that's, I believe, still the same good size that we need it to be. Let's see, does it fit? Close. Excuse me. That's close, and I think we can get it to work, but we'll have to keep an eye on it. So, now what we can do is make it have the little trench. And really we don't need one, we need more than one. So let's do 3. Because what we're going to do here is grab this one, turn on our soft select, and then adjust it so that it's just this little area here. We're going to have to test this out and see, because we don't want it to be too much. But yeah, we're looking at something like that, kind of a ridge there, and then again it fits right in there and rolls theoretically. Theoretically it rolls. I'll turn off soft select again, and I want these I want it to be more of a lip here. Same with this guy here. To be more of a lip so that it kind of gives it as much room as we can, but still give it some thickness, like that. And of course we'll grab this and move these down, and you can dump that in as much as you want. This can come out. This part is immaterial because at this point you're letting gravity kick in and just doing whatever it needs to be done to drop it in there. You don't want it to actually come out even too much because then it won't fall in, but you do want it to have some kind of a depression. Oops. Something like that, so that it will roll right on in and just right on out, and then this spreads out and it'll be there. I don't think that this is going to fit 2 pieces. Let's see. Even if we fuse them together? Well, close. Pretty close. We may go ahead and put this to a side, but boy, that's and then have it come around and turn and then go into that's a tight turn right there, because it's going to have to come down here, then it'll have to make a sharp turn and go into itself, and I don't think there's enough coins there for this. Oops. Excuse me, I don't know if there's enough coins there. You'd have to put an extra pile right there on the side for this to come in. It would have to be a massive pile this high and over here. And although that'd be cool, and then of course, because if it's this high, then it has to come all the way around, lowering as it goes, with a good chance of it getting stuck because it's not sharp enough of a drop, and then spitting it out right there onto this. As cool as I like that, I don't think it's going to work, because I just think that's too much engineering and too much play testing to get it. Besides, I can get this to move over and have it, oops, so it is more centralized. Something like that. Yeah, I think that's the way it's going to be. So now it's just a matter of getting this thing lined up where it's not as straight, as boxy as we had. Let's get this thing nice and round. Let's get these pieces here looking like it's actually bottom of a tongue, so it's nice and round. Like that. The tongue could be as thick as it wants to be too. That's the nice thing about this. And actually the thicker the better, but you just want to make sure that it's not so thick that it's going to weigh a ton, because it is going to fit on that bracket there and it needs to stay on there. And I think that'll be enough. I think that'll be just fine to have this overhang, because this is going to come out. Watch this thing, guys. You watching? Are you watching, Cooper? Cooper, are you watching? That's not what I wanted. Is there like a... Oh, there is. I made a... accidentally made a piece there. Alright. And then I want to very quickly move this upward. Same for this piece here. I want it to be up and angled, so that we're going to be progressively going upwards on this, and we don't have much time to go up, so you got to pretty much get this thing nice and sharp. We don't want to be too rugged. So let's go back to this. I'm going to have to smooth this out a little bit. Yeah, something like that. And we'll shrink it down a little bit, but we want to keep it that size, but we want to thin this out so it finishes like a good tongue. Well, it could be like a toad's tongue where it's nice and thick, but yeah, we're gonna have some fun with this thing. And then here we want to start actually doing it the other way, because we're going to fork this bad boy. But we want to still make it go that upwards so it has a continuous rolling effect. We'll worry about the turn in a little bit. Well, actually, I guess we can start doing that and start making the turn. So be right here. We're making the turn. Make sure this is looking okay. Good. To go up and turn it more. Not going to go much farther than this though, because it is getting a bit excessive on the height and the length, and there is a certain point where I don't want to improve a little bit more and do the local in this one so that we can, well, that doesn't want to work at all. And then bevel this thing out again. This time, oops, we need to not bevel it like that. Let's not shrink it down quite so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Something like that. There's the tongue. And to get it kind of pregnant, grab the front here of these two. We soft select back on. Drop it down to where we're just bringing in the front. And we just bring this bad boy right on out. Like so. You can do the same thing with these guys too if you need it. That way it's nice and mostly round. You can go in with a turbo smooth later on if you want, but that's good enough right now. And one other thing I wouldn't mind adding, turning off the soft select, is going here and chamfering just a tad bit. And the reason being is because I would want to put in just a little bit of a lip right here. And that, not that much. Something that's just a little bit for mechanic purposes, and that'll keep, sometimes that might keep the die from falling right out the back way, because that is kind of a looped on the other side. So it may not be that great of a deal to do, but it seems like that's pretty good to me. And the question is, will this stay up? And again, if we need to, we can actually extend this piece down on the coins, and then it has more of a support against it. Now, one last thing, and then we're going to call it tonight, is to get some thickness here. And really the simplest way, if you can get away with it, is just applying a shell modifier. It's really all you need. And it basically goes in. You just want to make sure that you do it right. Sometimes it's easier to see this. Okay. But yeah, you're basically wanting to come inward, because the outside is just fine where you want it. You know, make sure that issues like that aren't coming up, which is part of the thickness of it all. But you could at least just make it as thick as you want, and then just move the unnecessary pieces like this. If it's thick that you want, because that looks like it's going to be nice and thick, so it holds itself up, then you just go in there and add a poly. Take this little one piece here and just shove it in back inside. There's another piece around here. There it is. Just shove it in there. It won't matter because it's inside. I'm going to just target weld that one because it's looking kind of funky where it is. Same thing for this one. There. That's clean. Alright, there's your tongue with a little bit of thickness in there. It's still hollow, but you can, when it prints out, it'll print out with supports in there. Just leave it in there if you want, and it just keeps it even stronger than it is, and this whole thing will just fit right on top of the chest. So this whole thing will just sit right on top of it. It won't go anywhere. Now it will slide back and forth, so that's one of the things that we'll have to worry about, is that it will slide along this little railing here. And we don't want it to do that. We want it to stay put. So one thing we can do is add some extensions on this side, the inside, because again, who cares what's inside here, because we're just going to be putting it in here. So very simply, hold on, I want to get this piece so that these pieces needs to come down to match the rest of the world. And this comes up. Alright, now when I go in there and take an edge, I just make a connection. And I mean, you don't even need a whole lot of it, just, you know, some of it. That's fine. It doesn't need to, you can bring it back out if you want. Yeah, actually keep it in there. You can bring these pieces out if you want to make it fatter or thinner or whatever. But the main piece is just these. All you got to do, excuse me again, I apologize for that, is hit your bevel and go out in different directions. You don't have to go far, just in the general area. You know, like that. Make them so that they are both independent. You don't need to have these at an angle. You want them to be like that. And don't go too crazy, like I said. Just flatten them and have them available in the general area. Don't make them down that far. Bring them up off that lip. And then bring it in, not close, but close enough, like this. That will move back and forth just a tad bit, but it won't move at all that much. It won't move enough to worry about it. And that, again, you won't see it because it's inside. But you just put that in there, and that way it just doesn't slide back and forth laterally. And that will be an easy way of keeping that thing moving. So theoretically, this whole thing looks to be good to go. It has a piece here. It looks to be where you put the dice there. And that looks like it should roll down. What we will do here, just to make sure, is that we will bring this lip up. Let's make it a soft select. And rotate it just a tad bit like that. And then we can just bring it straight up. Like a little lip there. Because it's going to want to go that route. Because it's falling that way. So we make sure that these pieces go up a little. Oops. Make sure these pieces come up a little bit. And then this last piece here will do the same thing. We'll bring these pieces up. And that should be enough where it just rolls there and rolls right on down. Again, if there's any errors in the roll, then we'll worry about that later. But it really should not have any problems about coming out. Like I said, if we do, we just raise the walls just a tad bit. There's something going on fishy over here. What's this? What do we got here? Oh, is that all? It's a weird line. Oh, it's because it's by itself. Let's just cut this and give it itself its own line there. Is there one over here? Yeah, there is. Yeah, they don't like little vertices just sitting there on a T section like that. It's a simple little cut tool and you got it made. All right, so that's good. That's a lot of work. And then let's just unhide by name and bring the coins back in. So now you've got kind of an idea, and like I said, we'll work on getting this bad boy to where he's peeky-booing out. without being too much of a problem. And it's just for visual, and that's it. But you can see where it's coming along quite nicely. It looks like it's going to be exaggerated tongue, which is kind of the whole point. And then you just put that thing in there and it just rolls right on down into the gullet, and then it goes down and comes out of this hole where we're going to have a hole pulled out of the coins. And it'll be falling in down here somewhere. There's not a whole lot of room down here, but it doesn't matter because that's where it's going to be coming up short. Now, the only thing I can think of that could be kind of a nuisance is if you're sitting there and you got this kind of an angle where you're trying to look at the number and the tongue is kind of covering it. But people are going to be sitting at a table, so they're going to be like this. So I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. We will have to worry about moving these guys. They're sticking out way too far. So let's do something about it. Oop, we've got way too much selected here. There we go. Just bring that guys right on in. Right back into where they were. There you go. And if you're worried about this guy out here, you just bring him right on in. It's no big deal. He's not going to bother anybody. Kind of an awkward cut right there, don't you think? Well, a couple of ways you can bring it in. Bring that in a little bit. We're just playing right now. We're not really doing anything significant. These guys need to come in a bit out of the rain. There. I'm going to make a cut right here because I just want to. Yeah. Just kind of give it a little bit less of that edge there. Okay. So that's what we're looking at right here is something along the lines of this. I think it's going to work. I think it'll look pretty cool. Once we get it all done, it'll be quite a model. And hopefully people will enjoy having this as their kind of centerpiece as the dice tower on their gaming table, keeping it within approximate size. Hopefully it's small enough that we can put on the dice table or in the gaming table. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and save this as a new file, 04, and that will be it. We'll work on this later, and the next main thing will be the upper lid for the chest. Boring holes into the bottom part of the chest so that it can fit into it nice and easily. We'll have to figure out what we're going to do with if I'm just going to fuse the bottom chest with the coins and everything together so it's just all prints off one piece, or if this is going to, if the chest is going to, the bottom part of the chest is going to print off separately, and then basically you just print the coins and then everything else comes in separate as components. we'll see when we get to that point. Right now, I'm kind of leaning towards fusing it together and just having the lid and the shield and the tongue being all separate components, everything else being one. I think you'll be okay, but that's what experimenting is all about. So, all right, until then, I appreciate you guys stopping by and seeing this. Um, I believe that we should be able to get this done in a couple more sessions. I don't know if we can do it in one. Just depends on how much more time I have left. But until then, I hope you enjoyed a little bit of this and learned a little bit of what we can do in 3D Studio Max. Like I said, I always enjoy doing this just to help others and kind of entertain a little bit as we go, and hopefully it's not too boring. So until the next time, this is Simple Polytrex. The stream is not about to start. It's about to end. Aww. Womp, womp, womp. All right. Until the next time, have fun. Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.